Hello and welcome to All for United. This is a really strange experience for me. This is a pre-recorded show and it's the first time I've done one. It's never really happened. It's very, very weird not to have any of you in the comments coming up, getting involved, taking the mickey, any of those sorts of things. So this will be a very interesting one. But again, one of those short form previews, the type of thing that we're after. Hopefully you're listening to this on the way to work, in which case if you are, don't get too angry. Pay attention to the traffic. Always a good idea. We've got two wonderful people with us today. Back by popular demand, we have got Andrew Beanie. He's over on the side there. How are you getting on, Andy?
All good. Counting down the minutes till Friday. I can't wait for it to come back. So, yeah, it's all good to be back.
And it is literally minutes now, which is good. We are in that sort of position where you could count those down. And back again, we brought her on last season. It wasn't the best omen when we finally did it, but you know me, I don't believe in that sort of stuff. We enjoyed very much having her on last year, so we have brought her back again. It's from the Fulham Lilies. Sarah, how are you getting on?
Yeah, good, thank you. Like you guys, really excited for Friday. Surprised you invited me back after my predictions from last time, but really glad to be here.
Absolutely. Well, it's brilliant to have you, but we are going to have to start with what by the time you watch this is not breaking news, but at this very moment at 1 o'clock on a Tuesday definitely is. It has been officially announced that Aaron Wan-Bissaka has left the club. He has gone to West Ham United. We don't know officially how much from either of the clubs because it's an undisclosed fee, but David Ornstein has suggested that that's a £15 million fee. Now, Aaron Wan-Bissaka is a 26-year-old right back. Do you know how long the contract is that he signed, Beanie?
6 or 7, I think I may have seen.
7 years.
Crazy.
Like people who've watched the WFC channel will understand my affinity with the number 7. Thanks to the Alessio Russo late goals against Arsenal. But my God, 7 years. I mean, I've got to ask you, first of all, your thoughts on the transfer. Is it good business from United? Was it the right thing to do? But I've also got to ask from the West Ham point of view, have they sort of done a United? By which I mean, this is going to be a player who you would imagine is going to be on relatively high wages comparatively to the rest of the squad. If this signing doesn't work out or they need to offload, and he's not having the best of times, is he going to be one of those who's sort of stuck on the books for 7 years? Is that a bit of a drama, do you think, for them? So what do you reckon? What's your thoughts?
Well, just from a United point of view, I'm actually quite sad to see him go. I think he's a very good defender. Maybe lacks a little bit going forward, which is where they kind of look, isn't it, nowadays, modern day football and stuff. I'm a bit old school in that. I like my defender to be a defender sort of thing. So I'm a little bit sad to see him go. Obviously, we brought Mazraoui in. Well, we will have. Fingers crossed and all that to cover that, which relatively similar transfer fees as well. So there's not much either way there. Obviously, you know, I'm the sort of TikTok man here. I obviously posted about this a few days ago, and there's a few West Ham fans that are a little bit uneasy with it because they actually think Sofel is a better right back because he goes forward better. So as you say, if he doesn't perform at West Ham, it's a big contract. But it seems to be where clubs go now. I mean, Chelsea do it almost daily, don't they? Throw out 6-7 year contracts almost daily, whether it is the thing to do now. 15 million, I think, a bit cheap possibly, but yeah, I wish him well. I mean, he's a good player. He always seems like a nice lad, seems like a nice level-headed lad. I just hope we don't live to regret it. I hope Mazraoui can cover defensively as well as Wan-Bissaka does. But yeah, I wish him well. I mean, I think it'd be good for his career if it can work for him there.
I think that's going to be the thing. If Mazraoui does come in, I still think we focused on the wrong side there, but again, it's much needed funds in order to potentially upgrade. Haven't seen Mazraoui too much. We're very interested to see how he gets on should he come along. Whilst we're on the subject of transfers then, Sarah, we might as well delve a little bit into the Fulham ones. You sent off 6 people on a free, most notably, I'm going to try this as best as I can, toss in Advertise to Chelsea because they're just hoarding players at the moment, you know, just going for it and having as many as they could. Your biggest one, obviously, is your Palhinha off to Bayern Munich, which was quite a sale. But you have brought in a few others. Ryan Sessegnon from Spurs for free, which is obviously a good left-sided player for you. George Cuenca from Villarreal, brought in, a good centre-back there. And, of course, presumably your replacement for Palhinha, Emile Smith-Rowe from Arsenal. So how are you feeling about the transfer market and Fulham? You said you're looking forward to the season. Is that in part because of the transfers that you've made?
Yeah, definitely. The previous seasons, we've left our business late and we haven't brought players in, or we've ended up just getting players on loan because we've left it so late. But this season, for the first time in a long time, we started to do our business early and we got it done. And it meant that for a lot of the players, Sessegnon and Smith-Rowe, we were allowed to sort of get them into the pre-season friendlies. I was in Portugal, so I saw Smith-Rowe, and he's different level. He really is. And I do think that he's definitely going to be worth, I think it was 27 million with add-ons, works out about 35 million. And I think he's got a point to prove. And it's always good. He's still a young player. There's potential as an England player. He wasn't getting the game time at Arsenal, so I think he's going to be hungry. He's got a point to prove, and I definitely think he's going to be a good signing for us.
Absolutely, and good business, as we say. You send out Palhinha for, ridiculous money in that respect, and you brought in two players, so a good midfielder and a chance to strengthen your defence as well. So always nice, isn't it, when you can sell a player and it gives you some money to spare? I remember those days so very well. What a time that was to be alive. Obviously, Beanie, we've got a big game coming up. It's Friday. It's we have the curtain raiser for the season in the community/charity shield at the weekend. We're going to be in action on Friday, which is quite nice because I seem to recall times where we've started on a Monday and everybody else has started and you had to wait. So on this occasion, we're going to be bringing the curtain up, and actually it's a really good match. When you look back at last season, obviously mixed emotions about those games. We seem to enjoy raiding each other's castles effectively. We went to Craven Cottage and Bruno Fernandes with the 1-0 win there. And then, of course, who can forget the game at Old Trafford where Batty managed to get the goal. We equalised through Harry Maguire in the 89th minute, and we're all getting ready to come on to Wolf United. Picking up Harry Maguire for saving us. And then Alex Iwobi in the 97th minute went, no, we're having none of that, and scored a goal. And that was the first time they'd beaten us in 19 attempts. You had to go all the way back to 2009. Do you feel that we'll be looking at a sort of a resurgent Fulham? They finished 13th in the league last year, 47 points. They're one of those sides, if we don't turn up against them, they're likely to scrap points out of you. How do you see it going tomorrow? Do you think that we've got what it takes when you consider the sort of team that we put out against City in the Community Shield?
Yeah, I mean, where are we going?
We'll start with Beanie. Absolutely, go straight on with it, Sarah. No problems.
Yeah, I think it's a good test. Like you say, I think Fulham games are always tough games, but I think it's probably a test that we need. I'd like us to be facing a tough team straight off. I remember last season we played Wolves, and people were kind of seeing that as, it's Wolves at home, we'll sort of turn them over. But I think, like you say, you go back to last season, we struggled. Both games we struggled really. Even at Craven Cottage, we struggled, even though we won. But I'm liking what I'm seeing in pre-season at the minute. We look like we're trying to pass it a little bit quicker. We look like we're trying to move through the lines a little bit quicker. If we can it's just the defensive line for me. It always has been the last sort of couple of years. If we can sort out the defenders that are playing, have an actual left back playing, have an actual right back, crazy sort of things that footballers do. But if we can sort out that, I think we've got enough to beat Fulham. But again, I think for the first game, not so much performance, just get that first win out of the way, get 3 points on the board, and then move on to what I think is Brighton away the next game. So the tough games keep coming. But I definitely think we've got enough to beat Fulham at home, definitely.
Go on, Sarah, go straight in. What do you reckon? What's your rebuttals for that?
Yeah, I mean, I thought you played well against the Charity Shield, Community Shield. You were unlucky. But the first few games, it's, as you said, getting that first win, it sort of sets you up in your mindset for the rest of the season. But realistically, I do think, can you take much from the first game of the season, because players are still coming in. It looks like you've got the 2 guys coming from Bayern Munich. So if they start, if their sort of paperwork and everything's done, that brings a different dynamic. Will they be settled in? There's so many different ifs and buts about a first game of a season. But from the performances that we've done in pre-season, I'm pretty confident that we'll get something. I'm hopeful for a draw, as I always am at Old Trafford. But yeah, I think it'll be a good game. There'll be goals, and as I say, for me, I'm looking at a 2-2. That would be my ideal result.
It's interesting you mentioned that. You say there's going to be goals. I did research the sort of goals that we've seen in these games, and Manchester United have only ever scored. They've scored 4 times, so we've never scored more than 5 against Fulham. The last time we did that was 2011 with a 5-0 win. But Fulham have scored 4. That is the most they've ever scored, and that was in a 4-4 draw way back in 1960. So it's unlikely to be huge amounts of goals, but I do think you're right. A 2-2 could well be on the cards in terms of the number of goals. And if you do score 2 goals, that will be the 100th goal that you have scored against Manchester United when you do that. So that would be quite interesting. Sarah brings up there, Beanie, about De Ligt and Mazraoui, and obviously they're not been confirmed yet. There's pictures of them at Nando's or whatever in Manchester late at night having dinner together, even though they arrived in separate cars. It's like some sort of dodgy version of first dates or something, isn't it? Where they're not allowed to see each other until they arrive, even though they literally spent most of their time together being at the same club. But the team that we saw for the Community Shield, I mean, we guessed 9 out of the 11. We just didn't expect that we were going to have Martinez at left back and Maguire starting. We thought that there would be Amas potentially, or Shaw if he was fit enough. And of course, up front, we played with a false 10. We had Fernandes and Mount, and there was the argument about should we have started with Xerxes. So double-barreled on this one. Do you see a similar team? Do you think we might give Luke Shaw the nod, and actually that's all we were doing was giving him that week to make sure that he was ready for that first game of the season? Because he did feature in the European Championships final, and he was pictured training. So we don't believe there's an injury there. So it must have been, I feel, purely precautionary that we didn't want him to be out in what could have been a tricky battle against City. But equally, what are we going to do up front? Because we saw some great opportunities with Ahmad getting forward, getting the ball across in the box, and there was nobody really there to finish it off. Do you think we'd start with the Xerxes? And then the second part of that, if we did sign De Ligt and Mazraoui before Thursday, it has to be in order for us to register them. Do you see them going straight in? Because it's that age-old argument. They don't know the players. They don't know the style of play. Would you, in a game against Fulham, change your defence by 50% to throw in 2 players that have only had a couple of days' experience with the club?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'd like to see us play a left back, even if it's Harry Amas. I'd like to see us play a left back just for the structure of it, get Martinez back in the middle. From what I've been reading and from what I've been sort of told, De Ligt has been training with Bayern all summer. He's been going on the pre-seasons. He's been involved in the squad. So he should be fit enough. And from what I've seen this morning, they're doing their medicals. They're going to be training for the first time today. So I wouldn't be surprised if De Ligt was actually involved. And I'd be okay with that, to be fair, because he looks like a big, strong defender. I'd be okay with that. Xerxes, I think it was just a City thing that we went false 9 personally to almost shore up that midfield a little bit more than have more of a target man. But yeah, I'd definitely go with Xerxes on Friday to give us that target man. I think having Ahmad, and like I've said to you in like messages and stuff, I'd have Garner on the left. There's loads of threats coming from the wing. To have that big guy up top, I think would be good for us to have that target, that focal point. I think would be good. So yeah, I'd definitely do that. But the left back is the one for me. Even if it's Harry Amas, put him in. That's the one for me.
I noticed that you threw out a TikTok on the wings. Who would you pick? Would it be Rashford, Garnacho, or Ahmad? You gave people 2 of the 3. Which 2 would you go for?
Garnacho and Ahmad for me. For me, Rashford. I think just from his confidence, I think the competition there, I think, will do him very good. And if he sees Garnacho playing well, he sees Ahmad playing well, when he comes on as the substitute, it's almost like a kick up the backside. It's like, wow, I've really got to perform now. I've got I've got to really put a shift in, and I think that'll do him good. I've nothing at all against Rashford, but I think competition is healthy.
Interesting. I'm actually going to be responding to that TikTok with a video later on today. So if you haven't been on there, get over and have a look, and I will explain to you why I would choose the two that I would choose. We won't do that here, though, because it's not about me. Instead, we're going to nip over to Sarah. And obviously, we're expecting Emile Smith-Rowe to start. He's clearly going to be one of the players who your team is built around. But there's a danger that people could just look at the fact that you've got rid of Palhinha, who was by far and away one of your best players last season, and just replace him with Smith-Rowe. Where else would United need to be worried about? You know that we've got a defence that is not yet necessarily gelled and set. I would put it a little bit like an Angel Delight, just after you've whisked it. It's not quite upside down, but it's pretty solid. So, you know, you could get in there if you really needed to. What do you reckon are your chances? You mentioned getting 2 goals. How do you think you're going to get them? It can't all come from Smith-Rowe. So where's the dangers for United?
In pre-season, Alex Iwobi has just been absolutely sensational. So he's gone out on the left wing, which is where Willian was last season. We still don't know about Willian. I mean, his contract has expired. He was offered an extension, but from what I've seen, he's still holidaying in Brazil, but he doesn't like pre-season. So we're all still, I think, expecting him to turn up on the first day and go, yeah, I'm here. But if he doesn't, then Alex Iwobi out on that left, partnering up with Robinson, I think is going to be really good. Somebody that we didn't really see a lot of last year was Traore as well. And I mean, you guys all know when he did the assist, which led to Iwobi's goal, that run down the pitch, the way that he cut in, I said, if he never plays another game for us again, just for that run, he's a legend, because that was absolutely amazing against you guys last season. Apologies. But, you know, it was a thing of beauty. So in pre-seasons, he's been playing on the right with Tete. Tete was injured for a lot of last season, so we didn't see a lot of him. Timothy Castagna was in the right back position, and he had a great season, absolutely great season. But I think if Marco's going to go with Traore, you need Tete with him, because Traore is not going to track back as much as somebody that would normally do in that position. So I think Iwobi and Traore, they're sort of going to form a bit of a threat to you guys on Friday night.
Absolutely. I think that sounds a reasonable response indeed. Beanie, where I wanted to come to you next on this one, and again, we've spoken about the forward line. There's only been for United 3 hat-tricks scored against Fulham. You have to go back to 1958 with Alex Dawson for the first one, 1965 for David Hurd for the second one, Super Ruud van Nistelrooy back in 2003. It's 21 years. Silly question, but can you see any hat-tricks occurring tomorrow? And if there was going to be one, where would you see it coming from? Because I genuinely think that's a bit of a tainted question. I'm sat here going, I'm not sure I could tell you where a hat-trick would be coming from unless Bruno Fernandes has the game of his life. So where would you see it?
Well, to start with, I'm really, really happy you didn't ask me to name the people that have actually scored hat-tricks. That was a long way before my time. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think we're a little light on goals, aren't we? I've had a few people asking me what my predictions will be, and it'll be the odd goal here and there. I just don't think we've got it in our team at the minute. If there's a hat-trick coming on Friday, it'll be from the people playing in white. I think there's more likely someone playing in white will be getting a hat-trick than one's playing in red. I just don't think we've got it in us at the moment. I don't think we're not clinical enough going forward, I don't think. But, you know, I'm begging to be wrong.
I hope you're wrong as well. Otherwise, no one will ever allow you on the channel again. That would just be an outrageous thing. Sarah, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your manager as well. Obviously, he's been in charge since 2021. Obviously, took over from Scott Parker after he'd have to go to Bournemouth. And you've not had too bad of a time with him. He signed a new deal until 2026 towards the end of last season. What are you making of your time under Marco Silva? Do you feel that he's building something that you can be rightly proud of and excited about the future, or are you still feeling like, and I say this with the greatest of respect, a mid-table Premier League side that isn't going to necessarily challenge for Europe, but then also not necessarily going to be in the relegation battle either? Whereabouts do you sort of see yourself in your future under Marco Silva?
I think we've established ourselves as a Premier League team now under Marco. Obviously, we had those 3 seasons, the yo-yo seasons where we were up and down. But what Marco's brought is he's brought stability. And going back to what I was saying earlier about the transfer window, getting our business done early, not only did we get it done early, but we seem to be buying the players that Marco wants. Previously, Tony Khan, who's the director of football, who's been very involved in acquiring players, he used the sort of the Moneyball thing that they do in the States, where they look at statistics, and they were able to bring in a few players like that, and they just didn't work out. Whereas now I think they're very much listening to Marco. He's telling them the players that he wants. They're bringing those players in. And if you look at somebody like João Palhinha, no one had heard of João. He was doing okay over in Portugal, wasn't necessarily setting the world alight. And within 6 months of being under Marco, we've got Bayern Munich offering us 60 million for him. And for the last 2 seasons, he did more tackles than anybody in the top 5 European leagues. He's consistent. And even when he sort of did his farewell speech, he basically said, he's 28 now. So for a 28-year-old to be getting a 60 million or whatever it ended up being, 50 million deal to go to Bayern Munich, that's really great. And it's very much down to Marco. And I think with Emil Smith-Rowe, that is probably a lot of why he wanted to come to Fulham, because he's seen what he's managed to do with other players.
Fair enough. Sounds perfectly reasonable to me again. Good discussion. I'm loving it so far. We are nearing the end, and I am going to put you on the spot now, Beanie, because this is one where you might potentially know the answer. I was intrigued when I was researching the fixture and the head-to-heads. Manchester United have only ever had 2 red cards against Fulham in our entire history. So we've played, like I say, this will be the 92nd game that we play against Fulham. It's the 44th game at Old Trafford. But only 2 Manchester United players have ever been sent off, and it was on the same day. Can you remember the 2 players? And to help you out, it was 15 years ago, 2009.
Okay, so I was alive then. You're not really stumped me there.
I'm not trying to stitch you up, no. These are both players you know and can name.
I'm not sure. You've stumped me now. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'll have to see if Sarah knows that one. I'm not sure about that one.
I'm trying to think, and I can't think. So 15 years ago, just trying to think who you guys would have had, and
we lost 2-0. I can tell you that Danny Murphy scored a penalty, and Zoltan Gira scored in the 87th minute of that game.
I'm not sure. I might have to give up on that one.
The first one was sent off a handball, and the second player was sent off in the 89th minute for throwing the ball away, and the player that was sent off punched the corner flag before he went down the tunnel. That's a big hint there, Beanie. He punched.
Yeah, I'm gonna. It wasn't Rooney, was it? It wasn't someone.
It was Rooney, absolutely.
Was it Rooney?
So Rooney was sent off second yellow for throwing the ball away, and Paul Scholes it was who was sent off for handball.
For the handball.
Right early in the game. So there we go. So, but it seems to me quite a fair-tempered game when it comes to Manchester United. So you watch now as half the team get themselves sent off.
Yeah. Although if it's meltdowns at Old Trafford, I think that's Fulham's speciality.
Fingers crossed, Sarah. Fingers crossed. So there we go. I suppose the last question is going to be a double header for both of you. We'll start with you, Sarah, on this one. You finished 13th last season, 47 points. Question 1, do you think that Fulham will finish higher or lower or about the same? And what do you think the score is going to be on Friday night?
I definitely think this season we've had a better transfer window. We're a lot more settled. I'm going to go top half of the table. I'd like to see us 7th, clinching that European spot, but top 10 for me, I'd be happy with that. I think the last time I came on, I did a heart and a head result. And I think my heart was you're going to beat us, and my head was you're going to beat us, and my heart was we're going to win. And
let's go with the head, shall we?
And I think my prediction with my heart was quite good. So I'm going to do the same again. So realistically, my head is saying 2-2, and my heart is going 3-2.
There we go. Interesting. So, possible win for Fulham there. Beanie, obviously, we finished 8th last season. We did win the FA Cup, 60 points. Again, higher, lower finish. And what do you think the score is going to be on Friday?
I'll probably do a little bit of a head and heart, like Sarah's just done there with the league position. I think we're good enough to get top 4. I think we've got more than enough in the locker to get top 4. But realistically, I think we're probably looking at top 6 with trying to clinch another trophy. And for me, as long as the performance levels are better, I'd probably take that, to be fair. It's all about just getting us being competitive again. But as for the result on Friday, again, I mean, my head's telling me, it's going to be a draw. We're going to really struggle. But I think we might nick it. I think it might be 2-1. I do think it'll be quite a good open game, though. I think it'll be a good game.
Interesting. It's probably not the time for me to say I'm considering that this could be a 3-0 for us.
Oh,
You know what? I'll just
leave that to the very end.
Positive. Why not? Why not feel a bit positive? I was like, it could be close. No, let's smash them. Why not? Let's have a moment. So I'm going to go with that and see where we end up, and then decide whether I need to start going with head and heart. Because it's definitely a pie in the sky figure that I picked out of nowhere. There we go. That is it. It's 27 minutes that we have been going for, which is spot on. It's right between our 20 to 30 minute schedule that we're looking for. Sarah, absolute pleasure to have you on. If we've got any Fulham fans who have decided to come and have a watch and see what you had to say today, where could they find out more from you or hear more from Fulham Lilies? Where would they find you?
Yeah, best place is on our socials. So it's Fulham Lilies on Twitter and on Instagram. And we also have a Fulham Lilies Facebook account as well. And it is just all at Fulham Lilies.
And tell us just a tiny little bit more about Fulham Lilies, because it doesn't seem like the most masculine of names. So I assume that within that, there is a slightly wider vision of Fulham. It's not just about the Fulham men's team.
Yeah, so it's we're supporter group for the women and girls that support Fulham. So whether that's the men's team or the women's team, and we're just encouraging more people, more women and girls to get involved in football, whether that's watching it, whether that's playing it. So yeah, that's what we're all about.
Love that. Beautiful idea. Absolutely superb. And Beanie, if people wanted to get stuff from your individual TikTok rather than all for United, where would they find you?
MUFC Beanie 7, and then obviously on the All for United stuff as well.
Is this because you've got yourself confused with your Twitter handle again? That you just
I need to put it back on my hand.
Dear me, he was doing so well. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. As we say, it should be Wednesday by the time you watch this. If not, blame Connor. But we are definitely in a situation where the season is just around the corner. Also, we've got our Premier League preview. I don't know if that's going to be before or after this, but either way, if you haven't watched it, what are you doing? Go and watch it. Like and subscribe. Follow. Do all of those sorts of things. But most importantly, let's cheer on United, hopefully, to another victory. Take care, everyone.